The job that didn't feel right. Maya had always wanted to do something meaningful. For years, she worked in an office job that made her feel invisible. The walls were gray, the computers clicked like a quiet army, and the fluorescent lights hummed above her head. Every morning, she felt like she was walking into a place where dreams went to die. Her job wasn't bad. It paid the bills, her colleagues were nice enough, and the work was, well, the work was fine. But it didn't spark anything inside her. Maya dreamed of opening a small cafe. A place where people could sit and talk, sip on coffee, and find comfort in something simple and warm. But how could she do that? She had no experience in running a cafe. She didn't even know where to start. One morning, she sat at her desk, staring at her computer screen, the cursor blinking at her, and the email that needed replying still waiting. It felt like the weight of the whole office was on her shoulders. Then, as if the world was giving her a sign, her boss walked by. "You still here, Maya?" he asked, looking surprised. "Another late night." Maya forced a smile. "Just trying to get things done." Her boss nodded, then said, "You know, sometimes people just get stuck. The routine becomes so comfortable that they don't see the possibility of something else. You ever feel that way?" Maya didn't know how to answer. But she did feel that way. Stuck. Like she was waiting for permission to try something new, even though she knew deep down that her heart was no longer in this job. That evening, she sat in her small apartment, staring at the walls. The thought of the cafe came to her again. What if I don't take the risk? What if I stay stuck forever? She smiled to herself. Maybe I'll just start small. A tiny step. It wasn't much, but it was a start. The next day, Maya decided to take that tiny step. She signed up for an online course about running a cafe. She didn't tell anyone, not yet. She was still unsure of how to explain it. What would they think? She could already hear her friends and family. "Are you sure? You're so comfortable in your job." But this time, it felt different. Maya wasn't seeking approval. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. It was just for her. She spent the next few weeks learning about coffee beans, suppliers, customer service, and cafe design. The information was overwhelming, but exciting. It was like she had unlocked a door to a world she didn't know existed. One evening, while scrolling through a list of cafes for inspiration, Maya saw a post about a small coffee shop up for sale. It was only a few blocks away from where she lived. The space was small, cozy, exactly what she imagined. Her heart raced. Could it be real? Could this be the beginning of something? Maya hesitated. What if she wasn't ready? What if she failed? But then, she remembered her boss's words from the day before. The routine becomes so comfortable that people don't see the possibility of something else. She closed her eyes for a moment. Then, with a deep breath, she picked up the phone. "Hello," she said, her voice a little shaky. "I'm calling about the coffee shop." The conversation was brief, but it was enough to set something in motion. Maya arranged a visit to see the space. She didn't know where this would lead, but she knew one thing. She had taken that first step. And that was the hardest part. That evening, as she sat with her cup of tea, Maya felt something shift inside her. A feeling she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. A few days later, Maya stood outside the little coffee shop. It was small but had so much potential. Just the kind of place where people could linger, chat, and enjoy a good cup of coffee. The sign above the door read, "Luna's Cafe," and she could already imagine the soft lighting, the smell of fresh espresso, and the warm conversations that would fill the air. The owner, a woman named Rosa, welcomed Maya inside. "I'm glad you're here," Rosa said with a smile. "I've been thinking about selling this place for a while. It needs someone who believes in it. Someone who will give it new life." Maya felt a spark of excitement and fear at the same time. "I think I could be that person," she said, her voice steady despite the racing thoughts in her head. They talked for over an hour. Rosa told her everything, the struggles, the good days, and the bad. This place was once full of energy, but it lost its way. "I can't do it anymore. But I'm hoping you'll give it the love it needs." Maya walked out of the cafe with her heart heavy. The place wasn't perfect. It had a lot of problems: broken equipment, a tired menu, and a worn-out floor. She felt a wave of doubt wash over her. Could she really do this? Could she turn this place around? But then she thought about her current job. The endless days in the office that made her feel small. This cafe was her chance. The chance to build something real, something of her own. The next morning, she sat at her desk, staring at her computer. Her old job felt even more suffocating now. She could hear the hum of the office, the ticking of the clock. She thought of the cafe again. The possibility of creating something new. "I can do this," she whispered to herself. But just as she was about to take a step forward, an email popped up on her screen. It was from her boss. "Maya, I'm afraid we need to talk. I'm considering a few changes to the team. You might be affected." Her heart sank. She hadn't even made the decision yet, and already it seemed like the world was pushing her away from her dream. For a moment, she sat frozen, feeling the weight of uncertainty. But then, something strange happened. Instead of feeling defeated, Maya felt a sense of freedom. Maybe the universe was giving her a nudge. Maybe the changes at her job were exactly what she needed. Without wasting another second, Maya closed her email and picked up the phone. "Hello, Rosa. I want to buy the cafe." Maya took a deep breath as she signed the papers to buy the cafe. It felt surreal. A little terrifying. But mostly, it felt like the beginning of something she'd wanted for so long. The next few weeks were a blur of cleaning, planning, and fixing everything that had been broken. Maya put her heart into every detail, painting the walls a soft cream, replacing the worn-out chairs, and designing a new menu. She learned how to brew coffee like an expert, perfected the art of latte art, though her hearts and leaves often looked more like abstract shapes, and created a cozy corner where people could sit and read or work. But no matter how much effort she put into the cafe, something was missing. The place still felt quiet. The first few days after the reopening were slow. The only customers were a few regulars who had heard about the change. The cafe wasn't the busy hub of conversation that Maya had imagined. One afternoon, Maya sat behind the counter, wiping the same spot on the counter for the third time. She was exhausted, frustrated, and her mind was full of questions. What's wrong? Why isn't this working? Just then, a man in his early 30s walked in. He had a friendly smile, a backpack, and a curious look on his face. "Hey, this place looks great," he said, scanning the walls. "It's changed a lot since I was last here." Maya smiled. "I'm glad you like it. I just opened it up again." "Cool. I've been looking for a place like this, somewhere quiet to work. Do you have any seating in the back?" Maya nodded and pointed toward the cozy corner she had set up with a couple of armchairs. "Yes, we have some seating back there." The man smiled again. "Perfect. I'll take a coffee and head there." As he sat down, Maya made his order, still feeling unsure of what to do next. After a while, the man returned to the counter with a smile. "Hey, this is really nice. You've got something special here. People just don't know about it yet." Maya's heart lifted. "Thank you. I'm trying to figure out how to get more people to come in. Any ideas?" The man thought for a moment. "Well, I came in because I heard about your cafe through word of mouth. You've got a great vibe here. But I think you could also try something like a community night. Maybe a poetry reading or live music." Maya's eyes lit up. "That's a great idea. I could try it next week." And just like that, something clicked. She realized that running a cafe wasn't just about serving coffee. It was about creating an experience. It was about building a space where people could gather, relax, and connect. That night, she posted on social media about the idea of a community night. The response was immediate. People wanted to share their stories, sing their songs, and meet new people. The next week, Maya hosted her first poetry reading. It was small at first, but it was enough. There were laughs, there were tears, and most importantly, there were people who felt a connection to the space Maya had created. The cafe started to feel alive. Maya's cafe slowly transformed into a hub of activity. Every week, she hosted something new, a live music night, a book club, a painting class. People came, not just for the coffee, but for the sense of community that she had worked so hard to build. But even as things started to pick up, there were still moments of doubt. Maya was exhausted. Some nights she would lie in bed, unable to sleep, wondering if she was doing the right thing. Was this really her dream? Or had she just made it up to escape the feeling of being stuck in her old life? One evening, after the cafe had closed, she sat alone at a table, sipping the last cup of coffee for the night. The place was quiet now, with only the soft hum of the refrigerator and the gentle creak of the wooden floor. She thought about everything she had been through, the job she had left, the fear of failure, the joy of watching the cafe come to life. "I made it this far," she whispered to herself. But she still wasn't sure if it was enough. Just then, the door opened, and a familiar face appeared. It was Rosa, the previous owner. She smiled warmly as she stepped inside. "Maya," Rosa said softly, "I've been meaning to visit you for a while. I just wanted to say, I'm so proud of you." Maya stood up, surprised. "Rosa, thank you." Rosa took a seat across from her. "When I sold this cafe, I wasn't sure what would happen. But I always knew it needed someone who believed in it. Someone who wasn't afraid to take a risk, even when things felt uncertain." Maya smiled. The weight that had been on her shoulders for so long suddenly lifted. She realized that she wasn't alone in this journey. Rosa's words were a reminder that dreams, no matter how small they seem at first, are worth fighting for. "I think I've learned that it's not just about the coffee," Maya said, her voice steady. "It's about the connections we make, the conversations we have, and the courage to take that first step, even when we don't know what comes next." Rosa nodded. "Exactly. You've built something beautiful here, Maya. Keep going." Maya looked around at the cafe, now filled with memories, laughter, and hope. She knew she still had a long way to go, but for the first time, she felt truly confident in her decision. She had created something that mattered, not just to her, but to everyone who walked through those doors. The cafe wasn't just a dream anymore. It was a part of her. And this was just the beginning.